YouTube? Welcome back to Kupo Gamer. I'm Marco, and tonight, let's talk about this trailer. So, we got a lot to talk about today, don't we? Earlier today, which will be yesterday by the time we get this out, we got the final Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer. So yeah, the final trailer was definitely the best Kingdom Hearts trailer that we ever had in the history of Kingdom Hearts. Now, probably forever until Kingdom Hearts 4's launch. Whenever that is. Like, move over Aqua being Norden at E3. Like this was a whole new level of hype and promotion. It was just so we're gonna be breaking down this trailer bit by bit. But literally, as y'all are very aware too, this is dense. This is like an insanely dense trailer. Let's jump into it. So, starting off the trailer, we get a really just intense monologue from Sora about what fate is and how it's related to hope. We had that bit of dialogue going while we saw like the giant Kingdom Hearts in the sky being summoned by Xehanort, and it looks like it's being highly corrupted by darkness. In this beginning clip as well, we get to see that, Xehanort just doesn't have one Keyblade chilling up on the peak with him. He's got a bunch of his Keyblades up there. And, that's pretty ominous too. So, we're gonna move on, but you just look at that. That's how we're gonna, wow. Whew. Right after we got the massive Kingdom Hearts in the sky that looks all corrupted and tainted, we got this little bit of Aqua, what looks like to be her falling even deeper into darkness. So this could be possibly whenever she's getting Norded or falling to darkness. It's still out on that, so we're just going to leave both options up. But yeah, it's showing Aqua falling really bad into darkness. Also, side note that needs to just be brought up. So this is like the only time we see Aqua, which in a trailer like this, that's very peculiar. So let's just keep that in the back of our skulls too. The next part we get is this awesome composition of these stone pillars in what appears to be the Keyblade Graveyard, with a bunch of the 13 Seekers of Darkness standing atop of them. The composition of these stone pillars is eerily similar to the White Room that we've seen the organization using as their home base for years now. Aside from it being really just cool looking, it's something that appears to be very significant. So, let's keep moving. So after all of these crazy bits of story that happened at the beginning of this trailer, they broke it up a little bit with, some insights into the worlds that, Pixar is bringing and the Disney worlds, which are looking amazing, don't get me wrong, but they weren't as heavily story motivated. Now, after we get a little glimpse into some combat and the Stitch summon, for example, we go into one of the big chunks. Yeah, they just casually drop for 2 seconds. Oh yeah, you get to play as Riku. They didn't say anything. They didn't preface. They didn't do anything. They're just here it is. Here's Riku in the Realm of Darkness, and you're fighting as him. Go you. You're doing it. Which, if you saw our reaction, I don't know. It really took me off guard. It was amazing. I'm so excited. Bah. Yeah, so if we take a quick second to take a look at this Riku segment, you can see that his Fire-Raga is Dark Fire-Raga, which is awesome. And as he shoots it, it's like a barrage of just really cool Fire-Raga blasts. Another thing that's coming to my mind here is, when exactly is this happening in the story? What we're aware of now, Riku and Sora both have time fighting in the Realm of Darkness. So, to visit this briefly as I can, I really think that from what we've seen that Square Enix released to us a few days ago, I feel like it would make sense that Riku is experiencing this first before Sora goes to fight Aqua. I'm deducing this because from what we saw from Square Enix's tweets, it's saying that Riku and Mickey, they're being tasked with going to the Dark Realm to find Aqua, while Sora regains his powers. If we take that into context, then this point that we're seeing with Riku, this could mean that Riku went with Mickey to get Aqua, and maybe they get overwhelmed. At this point in the story, Sora might be tasked by Yensen himself to go to the Dark Realm to find Riku, Mickey, and bring back Aqua, which would be crazy heavy. This could be a really cool transition into how Sora becomes an official Keyblade Master. Now, before we head even more into the crazy heavy stuff of this trailer, the last really big things we need to note are, look at the reaction command that Goofy has. That's pretty good. What's it called? It's, Goofy Bombarder. We also got this insanely awesome look into the chaos that's going to be this heartless war that we're going to be having, and it has like a heartless meter that we've seen before in other Kingdom Hearts games. It's going to be so intense. Now, here's the turning point for the trailer. So we get a ripe, big old smack straight to the feels with what's going down with Lee and Kairi. So Kairi's looking all excited and she's like, she's pumped. She's like, all right, let's go, Lee. Let's train. Let's fight tomorrow. Don't hold back. And like Lee has, a straight PTSD flashback about Xion. Yeah, so that really hurt. It was beautiful. I can't wait to experience it in the game, as well as many other Xion-Kairi Lee moments, because it's gonna be ripe with them. It's gonna be great. After the crazy emotional part, we get a glimpse at someone who's apparently reinstated into the organization, brought to our attention by Sykes. Sykes also says in this, like, hey, you better have made this worth our while, us bringing you back in. Did you bring the last vessel? What, excuse me? Who'd you bring to the party? I mean, I'd see him on the guest list. Like, I'd love to know who your guest is, sir. Madam. Yeah, as of right now, I think my biggest guess on who this is, I think it might be Yenzo, because once again, if we're referring back to the tweets that was tweeted by Square Enix a few days ago, the wording of the tweet with Yenzo and Lee's screenshots was awfully strange. The way that Square worded it made me feel like, okay, maybe this alliance to the Guardians of Light, maybe it isn't as strong as we thought it was. And between Yenzo and Lee, I feel like Yenzo has a lot more reason to leave the Guardians of Light than Lee does. Then we got a couple more seconds of some really cool imagery between Ventus, Sora, and Vanitas at the Monsters Inc. world, as well as a really fun glimpse into, the dynamic of Pete and Maleficent in Kingdom Hearts 3. And once again, just to be noted, Maleficent sounds real worried about the Keyblade War that's coming up. Now, here in my opinion is one of the big plot points that we really need to talk about this trailer. The dialogue that Chirithy has with Sora is all about bringing people back that have already lost their heart. Specifically, Chirithy is saying it in a tense that makes it sound that Sora already knows how to do this, so that means he's already done it. So at this point in the game, when Sora's talking to Chirithy, it sounds like it's a really strong possibility that Xion, Roxas, or Ventus might already be back, if not all of them. And before we move on from this point, if this is the case, and Sora somehow already brought back Xion and Roxas, and possibly Ven too, who taught him how to do all this too? Now, after that, we go back to Twilight Town, but this time with Lee and Isa, or Sykes, because from the dialogue, we're really not sure when this takes place. We didn't get the full context of this scene or when exactly in the KH timeline it happened, but all we know is that they're sharing sea salt ice cream and sharing a moment about purpose. Specifically, Aiza is talking about him awakening and having a new purpose to him. So we don't know if that's, whenever he was awakening into his nobody form or reawakening back to his somebody form. We then cut to Ansem the Wise and Ansem Seeker of Darkness chilling in front of the Twilight Town mansion. This is another very interesting set of dialogue because this is when we find out that apparently Ansem the Wise has had children sacrifices. What? This is supposed to be a Disney game! This is super interesting though because I'm trying to recall exactly if we've seen this or if it's referring to like how he messed up like Sora and Roxas's lives, or is this referring to something that maybe we have not seen yet, where Ansem the Wise is somehow affiliated to the events of KHUX and the Keyblade War of that era. After this Ansem not Ansem debacle, we go into another existential crisis where we have Riku Replica fighting regular Riku in front of Ansem Seeker of Darkness. In this scene too, we're getting to see a little bit more, I think at least, of how Riku Replica is being manipulated against the Guardians of Light. Once again, we don't know the complete context of the scene because the last time we saw Riku Replica, he was fine, at least relatively speaking, chilling with Riku on Destiny Islands. Now though, we're seeing him all Norded out, I mean look at them eyes, and this is very, very intense. Following this Riku on Riku skirmish, we get a glimpse into our heroes all fighting in the Keyblade Graveyard being overrun by Heartless. But for a brief second, we see in this skirmish that Riku Replica seems to transform into a really, really large Heartless. Now then, we're then thrown into a very emotional couple of sequences revolving around Lee, because we didn't have enough of those already from this trailer, right? We get Lee on his knees in like shambles, asking the person in front of him who exactly they are. This person too is holding a kingdom key, which means that this could either be Xion or Roxas, which once again, this has to be such an intense moment for Lee. Following this crazy intense back and forth, we then see Lee getting annihilated by Xemnas with his End of Kingdom Hearts 2 boss battle attack, while Saïx is just chilling here, watching it go down as he's all like berserked out. Then we see Sora flying in through frame with Ventus following soon behind him, tethered in these dark chains. These chains, might I add, look once again awfully familiar to something else that we've seen in Kingdom Hearts. These chains weren't only used by Ericus, but they were also used by Terra in 0.2 to suppress Terra. Also, like with Ven flying past the camera, he still looks unconscious. Does this mean that they actually didn't wake him up, but his limp corpse has been flying around the battlefield? Like, I don't know, man. Like, that's nuts. Then Mickey comes in out of nowhere, apparently fighting Luxord, and then gets sucked into another dimension or something. Like, we don't know anything. And normally, a Kingdom Hearts trailer would stop around this point. But no! Donald Hyper Beam! Like, is that actually Donald firing off this Hyper Beam, Solar Flare, Blair, Blitz, Kamehameha thing to the sky? Or are they getting hit? All we know is that after this, Donald dies. Which, we've all kid about us, oh, Donald doesn't heal, oh, you're useless. But he's not. He's not useless. He's Donald. Come back, buddy, come back. Kairi then jumps ahead of Lee's unconscious body. Then it cuts to Kairi getting sucked up by a heartless tide the size of a tornado. And of course, she's reaching for Sora, being all even more emotional and driving us all to insanity because this is way too intense for anything that we ever thought was going to happen. And then Riku comes disables Sora as he's losing his mind. Like, what did you do to us, Nomura? What? What are you doing? And honestly, like, the words of Riku here they just put me in place.
Sora, you don't believe that. I know you don't.
Oh yeah, of course there was more. Because why would that be the end? Because then, after all of these years, with it Kingdom Hearts 3 coming full circle, we got Cable Town. So, for those of you who have not heard about Cable Town was a little something special that was not shown to like 99.8% of the fans years ago at some private screening of a fan event. The only thing that we got to go by as a fan community was by like sketches of fans that were there who saw it. But finally, of course, at the end of production compared to like the beginning of production, we finally get to see what Wily Nomura has had in store with this crazy world. Apparently, he's had 12 brand spanking new vessel body things floating up in the sky up his sleeves for a while now. My thoughts on these vessels here though, I think that, this is straight hypothetical, but what if these vessels are all of our heroes? If this is the case, then what if during this battle sequence, you have to take these vessels out one by one, and every time you beat one, you re-unlock one of the main protagonists that we've been trying to save during all of Kingdom Hearts. Now, there's 12 hosts up there, so that's a lot of bodies to fill, and this is once again straight hypothetical, but it just came to my mind because what exactly could this mean? Now, these vessels could mean a lot of different things, but one thing's for sure, by the looks of it, Xehanort is succeeding. And that's a really scary thing. Whew. Now that's a breakdown. That's a big old breakdown. That was like 30 points that I had written down on a place to try to talk to y'all about. This was dense. This was like 4.5 minutes, but like it was a whole thing. So now's the time for the comment shout out of the day. Did y'all see anything in this trailer that we didn't talk about today? Let us know in the comments below. If you like what you saw here today, feel free to like, subscribe, and flick that notification bell for all the things coming at you from Kupo. Links to our social media will be in the description below, so feel free to check us out on Twitter and Instagram, especially now to be a part of our Forge the Keyblade giveaway. We have a ton of content coming out this week, and after this week is up, we're going to be revealing a lot more on how we're giving away this Keyblade. So if you're interested, feel free to check us out on our social media for more information. Well fam, that's about all the time we got for today. So thanks for stopping by our cozy little nook of the internet. I'm Marco, this is the Kupo Key Gamer. It's been so real, and may your heart be your guiding key.
Bombastic.
Bombastic. Goofy bombastic.
Bombastic. Is it bombastic? Bombarder.
Bombarder. Oh, right. Whoops.